back over our lives, it can be really nice to reflect on how far we have come and the lessons we've learned. It also can be a time where we can really look at regrets and beat ourselves up. Recently, I had a couple women ask me what I'd do differently if I could redo my life and redo my youth. Initially, I'm like, well, really nothing. I mean, everything that I went through got me to where I am. But after some reflection, I identified some insights that I would have done differently had I known better. So that's what I want to share with you today. So hopefully you'll find this helpful on your journey. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. Today's free resource is our Millionaire Mindset Guide. To access it, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/MMG. Let's face it, if you want to get different results, you got to think differently. And you really got to think like a millionaire. And this guide, the Millionaire Mindset Guide, is designed to help you think differently. You can access it for free at themillionaireinsider.com/MMG. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/128. MillionaireSeries.com copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement, planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold MillionaireSeries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. As you know, I teach a formula, which is your foundation and mindset, which is your inner game, your strategy, which is your game plan, and then your execution, which is your outer game. Pretty much everything in life has a formula, whether it's your money, whether it's your life, whether it's your business. And if you can master those 3 components, everything gets a lot easier. So as I was looking at my life and reflecting on it and all the things that have happened, I broke them into 7 sections. And I'm going to start with number 7 and then go down from there. The first ones relate to my strategy or game plan. Some of you are going to say, seriously, there's no way. It's just what I would have done differently. So the first one is I would have saved more. Now, I realize that from a net worth standpoint, I mean, it's amazing what I've achieved. I get that from what me and my husband have achieved. But the reality of it is that when you own real estate, you have retirement accounts, you have a lot of different assets that aren't liquid. Even if you have a high net worth, it's not like you've got, just millions of dollars sitting around. And the one thing I would have done is I would have saved more money. Yes, I have saved a lot and I've made a lot of great choices. If I had more money, I could help more people. And I do a lot to help people, but it's funny because, I sometimes feel like, gosh, I don't have any serious money to be able to really help people. You read stories about some of these famous people who are buying huge parcels of land and then building apartment complexes for vets or for people who don't have a lot of money. I'm like, gosh, how rewarding would that be? And if we had more money, we could do more things like that. I mean, I help people out, but not at that scale. So I would have definitely saved more money. Number 6, I would have better managed my own money. For years, I had a lot of money in my pension and cash. And also in my personal account, I was so busy managing everyone else's money and financial lives that mine was neglected. Once I started dialing in my retirement, and really my husband helped a lot, my return dramatically increased, and it literally has allowed me to probably double what I've had in my retirement. It's unbelievable. And I wish I would have done that sooner. Number 5, I would have started tracking my daily income sooner. Long time ago, I was at the $1 Million Roundtable. This gentleman said, just pick your daily income goal. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. And I did that. And it was amazing. Like literally every day I hit that goal. Then a few years ago, I had a mentor who said that they track their income daily from all sources. And it was really interesting because I'm like, well, what's the point? I mean, I track it monthly. Why do I need to track it daily? But she went on to say it's the weirdest thing, but it's kind of like it just puts your focus on it to where you're really conscious of number one, the people you're serving and helping, because you won't have money if you're not serving and helping people, which I love. And then secondly, it just keeps it top of mind of what you're doing in your business, which then allows you to help other people. It allows you to employ more people. It allows you to do all the things you want to do. And so initially I was kind of skeptical and I thought, can it really be that effective? Well, I'll tell you, I've been doing it for probably 4 years. And there's probably been out of those 4 years, maybe 2 months that I have not hit my goal. It's amazing, right? It's just like, wow, how cool is that? Number 4 is I would have made my health a priority. I kind of did it quasi. Seriously, I was macrobiotic in college. I didn't eat a lot of sugar, didn't eat dairy, still don't eat dairy. So, I mean, I did a few things that were good, but not at the scale I really wish I would have. And it was kind of like, I always kind of thought that inner game stuff, that mindset stuff, I'd have time later on to do it. You know, I do have a few health issues. And so some of them are genetic. They're pretty much, I was born with one, which is not really a health issue, but I just can't get a EKG on a cheap EKG machine, as my doctor says. But kind of like I've got a colon condition and I've just got a few things. I used to have cystic breast. Now, I will say since I stopped eating sugar, literally on my last mammogram, it was unbelievable. Not 1 ounce of cystic breast. It was like, I've never had that my entire life. So not eating sugar had a huge impact. I just didn't make it as big of a priority as I could have until later in life. And one of the things when I had some digestive issues from, it was either COVID or it was a vaccination. I identified myself that I was approaching a stage where I'd be pre-diabetic. And thank goodness I noticed that. And I was able to really reduce carbs and completely eliminate sugar. And now I'm down in a very good range. But I also started weight training 3 times a week, and I'm stronger than I've been literally my entire life. I do 10,000 steps a day, and I do probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day of meditation, which has been godsend. I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is just amazing. So I got to tell you a funny story about Dr. Joe Dispenza. So with everything that was happening at the beginning of this year, I was having a lot of anxiety. I was just so nervous about how so many of these things that are happening are going to impact so many people who don't realize it. And it was overwhelming. And it's funny because it's interesting how you're around people who are really concerned about it. And you have around other people who are like, why do you care? You're going to be fine. And I'm like, what a concept. I'm just not like that. I probably could use some skills on becoming better at that, but I don't really want to. I like the fact that I have empathy. I like the fact that I'm concerned about others. I think we're all connected. And I think the more good we can do, the better. I feel that we're on this journey for the evolution of our soul, and that it's kind of like the lessons we learn and the people we impact and the good we can do. And I wake up every day and that is my focus. And who can I help? How can I be a better resource? How can I be a solution as compared to the problem? So I was feeling really anxious and I was like overwhelmed. And I'm like, and part of it was the election. I was just so concerned on so many fronts. And I was like, I might have to go on antidepressants. And I'm like, or some anxiety medicine. And it was funny because I was talking to a couple of my friends, same thing. One of them who, unfortunately, she's a vet and with all the cuts, she's not getting the care she needs. And it's really sad. Well, I was praying on it. I was meditating on it. And I knew of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I had heard of so many different cases of people that he has healed. And so I started reading his book. And I don't normally finish books. I normally get really bored. And I literally picked up that book and I read the entire book through. And not only did I read the book, I also had the audio, and it was just amazing. It really did. And my husband and I read it together. And then we decided to go to his event. It's so interesting that his work, I kid you not, I'm like, I manifested him because his work literally ties right into my research. You know, I always say you've got to get in touch with what emotion you want, and you've got to start establishing it now. Well, he just takes it to a whole nother level. And he's done it from a scientific standpoint, which I love. I mean, he's got like 18 scientists at San Diego State studying his information. It's just beyond my comprehension. But that has been a game changer. I do about 45 minutes a day of yoga, which is I've done literally almost all my life. I do restorative yin, which is where you stretch out the fascia. And then I walk at least 1.5 to 3 miles a day. And if I'm up at my second home, I hike in the mountains and in the forest. And if I'm down at my beach home, we hike on the beach. So I do really make that a priority. And it's just made such a difference in my life. I cannot remember the last time I weighed what I weigh now. More importantly than just weighing a certain number is I just feel so strong and so good. So I encourage you to really make health a priority. You'll never regret it. All right, number 3, I wish I would have worked on my self-worth earlier. Now, I didn't discover the worth barometer, which is your belief in self-esteem, until about midway in my career. But if I would have had more knowledge, I would have worked earlier on my self-worth. I was way too into pleasing other people, not really seeing the value I provided. I was so focused in on what other people thought, doing the right thing. And I mean, I still am focused on doing the right thing, but I was doing the right thing based on what other people thought the right thing was to do versus myself. Now, it wasn't like I ever did something where I'm like, oh my God, that was completely wrong. But I just wasn't really living my authentic life or really speaking my truth. If I would have had higher self-esteem, I would have done that sooner. Now, one of the things that, assuming a lot of people know, maybe you don't know, is a lot of people who are multimillionaires don't have super high self-esteem. A lot of us, probably myself included, we have gone so overboard in achieving a level of success and financial success and career success, really because it's made us feel like more worthy. And oh my gosh, like how cringeworthy is that, right? Like you're going to ever have your self-worth mapped by something out there. I didn't know that. So had I known it, I would have done something a lot sooner. I can honestly say, I remember, probably about 5 to 10 years. Well, it's probably about, I've been on this journey for literally, my entire life. I remember in my, late 30s, early 40s, when I really started working on myself. And then it was probably like in my late 40s, early 50s, where I'm like, you're going to end up spending a lot of time with yourself. You better really get to love yourself, and not in a narcissistic way, but really in a way where you can accept your imperfections. I'm such a perfectionist. I just expect myself to be perfect. And in my job, I really have to be. And that's why I think when I'm not in my job, I don't like anything that requires a degree of perfection. And that's why I love being up in my cabin, because whenever we have a project, if it's not perfect, me and my husband look at each other and say, it's just a cabin. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I love that. But it's just something to be aware of. If you suffer, like so many people do, of not having the self-worth you need or having a low worth barometer, which really dictates where you operate on the grid, I encourage you to work on that. And I'll link to the worth barometer at millionaireinsider.com/3, but I'll link to it in the show notes. All right, number 2 is I would have had better boundaries. It took me years to create healthy boundaries and learn to say no graciously. Well, my husband and I have an amazing relationship and partnership. Oftentimes he wants me to do what he wants. And then a lot of times that includes spending time at our different homes, traveling. And I am very open to compromise. I'm open to negotiation. But I've also created healthy boundaries with the goal of meeting both of our needs and being able to communicate that my expectation is that we both meet in the middle. And yes, we're going on more trips and we're doing more things, but we're also making my goals, which is really helping more people achieve financial freedom, a reality. Setting boundaries has also enabled me to remove unhealthy relationships, and that even includes some family members from my inner circle. Now, what degree you remove them is really up to you. I have some family members that really have some issues, and they have been on medication and then they stop taking their meds and it just gets bad. And so I think what you have to do is you just have to look and say, is this person adding value to my life, or are they doing things that are destructive to themselves or others, and make those decisions? And I think same things with friends. Now, I haven't had a lot of friends that I've had to do with that with, but if you're around somebody and you're friends with them, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that, they say one thing, but then the way they live their life and their value system is so diametrically opposed, or they've not really been honest, I think those are grounds in which you have to really look at that and make a decision. Do you make a formal separation, or do you just kind of like slowly back off? I personally would rather just kind of slowly back off, but sometimes things need to be said and you just have to make that decision for yourself. And then number one, this one is so critical. I would have worked on my emotions. One of the things I found in my research is that many millionaires have an amazing ability to go from a situation or a circumstance to a thought, and then we take an action and we get a result. We completely ignore the emotions. And I literally survived my childhood by suppressing my emotions. I would never have lived. I mean, I would have committed suicide if I didn't learn how to suppress my emotions, because I had such a miserable childhood. And my work with so many multimillionaires has proven this is very common. I also have been able to witness so many people who have had money, but they didn't like themselves or love their life. And it was all about them not being able to really get in touch with emotions and really know what emotion they were aiming to achieve. The biggest result for me, as I mentioned earlier, has come from meditation. It has just been game-changing, and specifically the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And what's funny is that basically what he is teaching, it's a combination of a lot of modalities. I've done Kundalini yoga for a long time, and I'm really into the different energy centers, whether you call them chakras or energy centers, and really being in touch with what's going on in my life. And I can remember years ago when, I was reading about the root chakra and about, it has just so much to do with self-esteem. And I started doing these chants and these affirmations, and it was literally like overnight, I felt like a different person. I'm like, wow, this is working. But he has just taken it to a whole new level where you're basically getting rid of your old self. His trainings are so powerful that people heal themselves from cancer, from Parkinson's, from depression, one woman even grew back a rectum. It's crazy. And it would be really crazy, and it would seem very much like pseudoscience if he didn't have so many documented case studies. When I went and saw him for 2.5 days, which now we're going to go to a week long, my husband was like, did not want to go. He's like rolling his eyes, like, you're going to drag me to this? Because I went to wine country with him for his birthday, and then he agreed to come to Dr. Joe with me for my birthday. And he was kind of like, oh, brother. And by the end of it, he's like, that is life-changing. And, and he's very analytical, undergraduate engineer. He did project management. He's just more wired for science. And you just can't dispute the results he's gotten. You look at all these professionals, these attorneys, medical doctors, all these different people who are in the trenches studying this and having such amazing results. And I think I mentioned he's got 18 scientists at San Diego State studying his clinical results. His meditations will change a person's breast milk. They will change your brain waves. They change certain parts about your chemistry. It's just fascinating. And it's so up my alley. And so I manifested him because I was like, I did not want to go on medication when I was feeling anxious the beginning of the year. But I'm like, if I am continually feeling overwhelmed, I can't do my job and be so anxious and overwhelmed that I can't really do the best I can do. And then I decided to engage with him. I read his book. I went to his event, and it was just been a game changer. So you got to figure out what that is for you. But I will say it has been a game changer. All right. I'm going to just give you a little bit of insight on things I did well. So I started saving early. As I mentioned, I started over 30 years ago, saving $25 a month. One of the best decisions I ever made. And it's not the point of what I invested in. It's the fact that I created that discipline when I had no money. I started funding my pension really early. I purchased my first home in my 20s. I married a great guy who's a wonderful partner, friend, and father. That's a critical decision. I've maintained many of my friendships for years. I've created a wonderful family. And I should say we have created a wonderful family because we really do have an amazing family. And I continue to improve myself every day. And I continue to work to be a better person. And I think no matter what you do, focus is on how you can do good. You can be a good person, continue on that journey. What more can you ask for? So some final thoughts. It's easy to look back over your life and have regrets. And especially if you're a perfectionist of saying, oh, I should have done that, or I wish I would have done that. But it's so much more helpful to be appreciative of the highs and lows and to allow all experiences to propel us forward to our next level. My goal in sharing this, first of all, is I've had several people over the years ask me, but recently a few different people have said, what would you do differently? And I was like, what a good question. My goal of sharing this with you is just to help you make better decisions on your journey and to say, if any of these things resonate with you, I encourage you to take them up, making health a priority, doing all the things I said. But let's recap. All right, better managing my emotions and making daily meditation a top priority. That would have been like number one. 2, set better boundaries. Stop being so focused on out there and really get clear on who I am and what I stand for and what works for me, and be true to myself versus being so focused on making everyone out there happy. 3, elevated my self-worth. I would have worked on my worth barometer. And thank goodness I did, but I would have done it a lot sooner. 4, I would have made health a bigger priority early on in my life. Weight training, that's huge. Low carbs, no sugar, huge. In fact, if you have any health issues, I really encourage you to start with the elimination of sugar. And that's carbs minus fiber is sugar. Some people just say pure carbs, even if they don't take out the fiber, but I say carbs minus fiber, and then sugar of any type. And then 5, I would have tracked my daily income sooner. It's been so powerful. And it just keeps me focused on helping more people and making money to do more good. It's that simple. And then 6, managing my own money a priority. Now, one thing I did really well is I really focused in on creating residual streams of income. And we have made some really smart moves in real estate. And we've made some smart moves in stocks. My husband, I have to give him credit for that because there's ones I've sold a long time ago and I probably would never even have bought. And because of him, we did. And then 7, I would have saved more. Now, granted, obviously I've done fairly well, but I would have saved more because if you have more money, you can do more good. So if you're ready to take the next step, I encourage you to access our support. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/SR. You also can access our financial freedom guide, which is really just the cornerstone of creating a plan. You can access it for free at themillionaireinsider.com/FFG. It's a really powerful first step toward building that secure, purpose-filled life and retirement you desire. So again, themillionaireinsider.com/FFG. And please share this with a friend or a peer who can use it. I really appreciate it. For our full disclosure, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/ERS-disclosure. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Annette Ba'u. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.